The Caribbean community, Caricom, could lose more than $542 million annually under the United States' newly imposed reciprocal tariffs, a blow that threatens to unravel decades of export growth, particularly in agriculture, food processing, and apparel. That was the stark warning delivered yesterday morning by Dr. Patrick Antoine, Chief Technical Director of the Caricom Private Sector Organization, or CPSO, during a high-level presentation at the CPSO Private Sector Organization Business Forum held at Sandals Montego Bay in St. James. The meeting was staged on the sidelines of the 49th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of Caricom. Antoine's presentation was the first public disclosure of the country-by-country and product-level impact of the tariffs, which were implemented earlier this year under the U.S.'s new trade recalibration. Until now, the detailed data had only been circulated among CARICOM leaders. Trinidad and Tobago will be the hardest hit in terms of export losses, he said, followed by the Bahamas, Haiti, Guyana, and then other member states. For the region as a whole, the projected annual loss at the 10% tariff rate is over $500 million. That's not just a headline, that's real jobs and livelihoods. The analysis conducted by the CPSO, with support from CARICOM technical teams and the World Bank, examined hundreds of tariff lines across member states. Among the most impacted sectors are agriculture, seafood, textiles, sugar, and base metals. In Guyana's case, for example, a scenario where tariffs rise to 38% on some goods could result in an additional $27.9 million in losses beyond the already projected $89.7 million. Antoine also revealed that Jamaica has 128 product lines in the US market that fall into the fast growth high demand category. These products face an average export revenue reduction of 8.6%, a hit that could still be absorbed if margins remain above 30%, he noted. It is important to understand that all is not lost, Antoine said. If we drive down inefficiencies like the high cost of port delays and logistics, we could actually overcompensate for some of the losses. The U.S. tariffs come at a critical moment for CARICOM as the region prepares for its biennial submission to the United States Trade Representative for continued access under the Caribbean Basin Initiative. The deadline for member states to submit formal comments is July 16th, and Antoine urged governments to act swiftly and use the CPSO data to support their case. However, Antoine cautioned that simply asking for CBI preservation is not enough. The preferences we've enjoyed under the CBI have been essential, but they don't cover all the products we now export competitively, he said. We're calling for a CBI Plus framework, one that includes new high-performing products outside the traditional eligibility list. To make the case, the CPSO has identified 27 fast-growing products, including coffee, uncooked pasta, and rum, that clearly benefit from preferential access under the CBI. The data also shows that Jamaica has increased the number of tariff lines under which it exports CBI-eligible goods, rising from 86 in 2007 to 104 in 2024. Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago have seen similar growth. Of particular note is the agri-food sector, which Antoine described as both the most vulnerable and the most promising. Between 2007 and 2024, that sector grew from $99 million to $224 million, representing a compound annual growth rate of 3.1%. If we are seeing strong export growth in a sector that is now among the most vulnerable under the new U.S. tariffs, then our priority must be to protect that growth, not just for Jamaica, but for the entire region, he stressed. The presentation also examined inefficiencies and sourcing risks, revealing that 10% to 20% of CARICOM imports pass through but are not sourced from the U.S. Antoine said there are cost-saving opportunities in sourcing those goods elsewhere, especially with greater private sector coordination. This isn't about turning away from the U.S., but about building resilience, he added. We need to deepen regional supply chains and develop a clearer CARICOM response. The CPSO is also working with partners such as the U.S. Business Council Tropical Shipping and the Atlantic Council to prepare a joint submission for early 2025, advocating for a modernized trade relationship that reflects the realities of today's Caribbean export profile. This is the first time we are presenting this level of analysis publicly, Antoine said, and the results are sobering, but they also show us where the opportunities are. If we act quickly and strategically, we can protect the gains we've made and position ourselves for much more.